Welcome into another edition of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcasts with Gordon Wittenmeyer and special guests here, the Senior Vice President of Content for the Recap.
I better make sure
Hold me back.
Ryan McGuff.
You just needed a buffer. That's all you needed me for. The muscle. You needed to hire some
Gordon needed a bodyguard.
The last time, the last time we had a guest on, I think it was needed.
Yeah, a little warm.
Loud.
Yeah, the heat got hot in here.
So make it
anyway, happy to be here.
I got my nice new Cubs jersey on.
That's the ugliest stuff I've seen.
Shout out my guy.
What are you, an Expos fan now? Is that what this is?
This is not an Expos jersey.
It sure as hell looks like an
Cubs
Expos.
Wore the light blue decades ago.
They didn't wear that. They didn't wear an Expos uniform.
I like it, Gordon. Sorry, I'm going to have to side with Cap on this one.
Yeah, I like Expos uniforms too, but it's not a Cubs uniform. It looks like
the Expos
crap.
are no longer a team, so why not bring it back?
Their
It's
uniform?
a different blue.
I guess.
It's a different blue.
It's awesome.
The only thing that about this uniform that doesn't make sense is the hat doesn't match the jersey. The hat is like the blue of this Cub right here.
I have the hat.
The hat does not match. That blue does not match this blue.
That's before the jersey.
So that's the only.
Yeah, well, the city, the old City Connect was great.
What,
the Wrigleyville one?
The Wrigleyville
I thought
one.
it was plain.
They did a great job on that.
I thought it was
Nike
plain.
is the ones making these jerseys. They announced that in the first week that this jersey's been available, they sold more of these than in 1 year of the City Connect.
Yeah, but you and I both know why that is. I mean, you're going to sell more alternate jerseys no matter what they are when the team's good. When the team's crap like it was when those things rolled out, you're not going to sell as many.
I mean, the White Sox City Connect jerseys,
Southside.
The Southside ones, which I think
those
are changing too. Like
top
I don't know,
3 or 5 in the game.
So why change those? But I think those are changing. The Cubs were cool. I just thought they were kind of vanilla to me. But look,
I thought it worked.
It's an opportunity.
I liked
it's
it.
an opportunity, and the Cubs aren't taking the rake here. This is like this is part of the revenue
Right.
share.
So I made a call to someone at MLB, and
I know.
Because Hub Arkush is tweeting, they're ugly, and it's all about the money all going to the Ricketts. So I said,
it's about the money all going to Nike.
But if that were the case, there'd be a new jersey every year.
The money goes to MLB, the share, and then the Cubs get 1/30th like every other team. But when they sell 1 billion Shohei Ohtani jerseys, they get a piece of that too. That's how the licensing deal.
Yeah, that's fine. It's still an ugly as piss jersey.
Oh my God. This is my favorite Cubs jersey I've ever had.
Ever.
Yeah.
By the way, I like how
the number on it.
I just was going to say, I like how Sammy Sosa's
and it has his name on the back. Sammy.
Back marketing Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, Sammy gets some coin for that, don't he?
I would think he's a member of the
name, image, likeness.
But you put his name on it. He is.
He gets his licensing share. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
all right.
Nicely done,
that
Sammy.
Clears up anything on the jersey. It is freaking sensational. And give us your thoughts. Post them right here on our page and let us know what you think. I think they're awesome. Guff likes them too.
Yeah.
Gordon, of course, Mr. Stick in the Mud doesn't like them.
Yeah, I like them on the Expos. That was cool.
All right, let's move to Kyle Tucker is the reigning National League Player of the Week. And he has gotten off to a tremendous start.
Does he get a raise for that?
He should.
A little bonus money?
He does.
I got a text from my buddy Tony Macaluso who said, Kyle Tucker has 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases to start the season. Itzhak Paredes and Cam Smith have combined for 0 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 0 stolen bases. Tom Ricketts, you have to extend him. No excuses. It
got pretty quiet about Cam Smith quickly, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
I'm just saying.
I mean, we got 15 years to debate that one.
That's true. But all the shit that Kyle Tucker. No, Kyle Tucker's #1 in the NL and OPS. He's a
star.
Dude.
You know what? And we said this at the time when they made that deal. It's the right deal.
Yep.
It's the right deal whether they extend him or not because they got to win now and this guy's a star and they didn't have one. He's the perfect fit. Left-handed monster in the lineup, a Gold Glove outfielder. He's exactly what they needed and he's showing why now and regardless of what Cam Smith does, it was the right deal.
Okay, so here's the question for you guys. We got word overnight. I woke up to go to radio at 4 a.m. I'm like, what is this breaking alert? Oh, breaking news. Vlad Guerrero and the Blue Jays in agreement. 14 years. Now he's 26 years old.
That's the other Canadian team.
14 years, $500 million deal. Kyle Tucker will be 29 next January. So they're not going to go 14 years. No one would till age 43. But do you think that deal gives Cubs fans hope that Kyle Tucker will negotiate A, in season, maybe the All-Star break, and B, if I said to you it's 10 years, $440 million, do you think he takes it?
Look, I don't know what his number is. And so he may want to take it after seeing that. That may be a reason to take it to free agency, especially off to the start that he's off to. I think there's going to be high demand for him. Now, the other side of the coin on that, yes, I think he's willing to listen during the season. I don't know who wouldn't listen to a mega deal during the season. Your agent's the one doing all the sweat on it anyway, and if it doesn't get to the 10-yard line, you're not having your agent getting your ear on it anyway. Correct. So
I would tell him, I don't want to know anything until it's close.
Right. So this is about Ricketts. And are they going to go Vlad money? Are they going to go even close to that? I mean, they haven't. The biggest contract in club history is still Hayward's, right?
186 or 184.
I just have a hard time believing. I mean, you guys, tell me if I'm wrong on this. Are the Ricketts going to go in, especially ahead of time early, and go hard on it?
Guff, if I'm a betting man, if Kyle Tucker said 10 years, 420, 440, whatever the number is there, I think he takes it.
Me too. The question is, Gordon just said it. Are they comfortable? I mean, Ricketts sat right there and said, I asked him, what makes you more uncomfortable? AAV, money, or years? He said years.
You're going to have to give him a decade.
This is what he's getting.
Yes.
So, and by the way, Guerrero's deal, 0 opt-outs, 0 deferrals.
Right.
Which he's there. That's it. He wants to retire a Blue.
So that makes it what? Worth more than Shohei.
It's the second largest contract ever.
Because Shohei has a ton of deferrals.
Only Soto is more now.
Yeah. Okay.
More like when you put it all in the blender and what it actually means in terms of real money, he's the second largest contract
ever. So would you guys do that deal?
1,000%.
If you were Tucker.
Yes.
You take 10 for 400. $40 million a year.
40 a year.
He's getting 30.
This is
about 36 a year.
So at that point,
Guerrero.
every dollar is symbolic. Like if you're getting an offer like that, then it's about, do I want this benchmark? Am I going to argue for that $2 or that $5 million? Because now we're in the ballpark. So yeah, you listen and you probably think you're close enough that you're going to get somewhere where you take it. So I do agree with that. I just don't see the Cubs ownership jumping from a franchise record of 184-8 to well over twice that for 10 years.
Okay, so then
35.71 is what the AAV is on Guerrero.
Yeah.
So if you don't sign him because of you're afraid of the years, the money, or both, you are basically saying we are not a destination for superstars. That's what I look at this as. Because if the big numbers are scaring you, if every time a guy signs first it was like, well, there's only one Ohtani. Well, there's only one Soto because he's so young. How about what are you going to say now?
How about when they didn't go after Harper?
I have Harper on my list here because he looks pretty sweet now, right? At $330 million.
330 for 13.
Looks pretty
and
damn
even
good.
And they've talked about renegotiating and haven't done it at this point. They did renegotiate Machado, who signed a deal at the same time, 10 and 300. They negotiate 4 years later. They negotiate a 350 extension at that point. So this is where the market was then. We're talking that was 6 years ago.
Yep, 19.
So let me throw some numbers at you. Going into after Kyle Tucker wins Player of the Week in the National League, through that week, he's got a career 877 OPS.
Okay.
He's been an all-star the last 3 years, 521 slugging. Vlad Jr., what did I say, 877 OPS? Vlad Jr., 861 career OPS, 498 career slug. And he's been an all-star the last 4 years. Very comparable that way. And the difference, now Vlad's won a Gold Glove at first base, but he's a first baseman.
Yeah. You got a better defender and a better base runner in Kyle Tucker.
We're talking about a Gold Glove outfielder.
Yep.
Right field. This isn't a left fielder where there's no such thing as Gold Glover.
Left-handed bat and big power.
Yeah, with all due respect to Ian Happ.
How about Ian Happ? One of only 6 active players to play 1,000 games all in the same uniform.
How about that? Yeah. I
pretty
remember,
awesome.
I remember when he broke in. Didn't he hit a home run his first? He hit a home run his first
He
game.
led off a season with a home run.
That was in
Yeah,
Miami the
Florida.
next year, but I think he debuted in St. Louis in 17?
Yeah, 17. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the amazing thing is, he's a really good dude.
Mhm.
And as many issues as the Cubs had drafting for a while, they got Almora, not a good pick. They got Bryant, excellent pick. They won the World Series. Can't argue with it. May have fallen on hard times, but he did win the MVP in their uniform,
Yeah.
winning a World Series.
They got the best out of him.
Yeah,
Without a
Schwarber was a good draft pick, and
Excellent.
Ian Happ, a good draft.
But we talked about that. I mean, you're
got
talking
it, by
about
the way.
top
He
9.
homered against the Cardinals
Yeah.
in his big league debut.
We're talking
St.
about
Louis.
we're talking about top 9 overall picks, and they even whiffed on one of those. So
But here's the
Oh, you're
deal.
talking about Albert Almora.
yeah.
The Cubs are either going to be they're going to they're going to play into the mystique, right? As we're a storied franchise with the beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, well, the
and no
problem is they're rewriting the story.
right. Well, I'll also say this: you're not a storied franchise when you're trying to compete with the Yankees and the Dodgers, and you have the banners of the White Sox. Then stop. Like that's who you are. Because if you're going to draw the line at this is too rich for our blood, then to me you're a 15 and below. When I rank my teams, you're automatically no higher than 16 because you're worried more about your farm system and like let's get the best 6 years we can out of these guys. Make some creative trades along the way and get 1 or 2 years of those guys so they can sign elsewhere. And we'll keep just redoing that and filling our ballpark because that to me is disingenuous to the mystique, the aura, the franchise, the fans.
Fair.
I agree.
Look, I don't see a scenario where if he goes out and plays like he started to, and if he is playing at an MVP level
Yeah.
and that team goes to the postseason, I
You
do
have
not
to.
believe that the Cubs will let him walk. Now
The problem with that
he
Cap
could
is
say like Soto, hey man, I appreciate the $750 million offer. I want to play for the Mets. Well, there's nothing you can do about it. But if I hear that he picked, let's pick a team. He picked the New York Mets and he took $500 million and the Cubs offer was $340. Well, that's a joke.
That's the problem,
if they're
Cap.
both the same offer and he said, I just always wanted to play for the Mets, there's nothing you could do about
There's
it.
nothing you can
I
do.
think you brought up the timeline of the All-Star break, right?
That's what I would do.
I think you have to be aggressive
agree.
between now and then, or you will lose him to free agency,
100%.
period.
100%.
Even if you decide that you're going to compete for him in free agency, because the price is just going to go up, assuming that he stays healthy. Look, one of the things that I'm big on this, and you know, our friend Jesse's done some stories on this. This is a real thing, right? The guy's left-handed too. He's a left. Those types of guys you build lineups around. You know, for all the talk about Chris Bryant, they built that lineup around Rizzo. That's when that lineup began to take shape. When you have the handful of bats that are elite in the game that are left-handed, they are incredibly valuable. Soto doesn't get his deal if he's right-handed, no matter. I mean, his at bat is elite, but that's the only thing he does. And if he's not left-handed at that, he's not a 765 no deferrals player. He's a lot, but he's not that. So you got to go in hard on this guy because you're going to build your lineup around him for years if you can keep him. So you go aggressive now. If he turns you down and you're over 400 million,
There's nothing
Okay.
you could do. I was told that he has said, I will talk, but I want my wife to experience some of Chicago in the summer when the weather warms
Fine.
up before we make a long-term commitment.
first week of sunny 75-degree days, you're in talks.
Totally agree. I could not agree. But like this is pre-Memorial Day to me. You guys are right. and Gordon, you're dead on. If he doesn't sign,
Take that.
If he doesn't sign
by August 1.
Yeah, if he doesn't sign,
There you go.
I'm just by the time the clock strikes 0 at the end of this season, he's gone because all the other teams are more desperate, and we've seen it. All the other teams have more money. It's a fact.
All the other teams are willing to spend more.
They're
money.
they're willing to bend. They're deferral, no deferral, opt outs, 7 opt outs.
What do you want, Kyle?
3 opt outs. You know,
Yeah.
like you can't keep saying that you make the rules. You can't. Well, we don't do deferrals. Well, you know what? Everyone else is. And if that's how you have to bend the rules.
He got no deferrals.
Hey, do you remember what Theo said when he walked in?
Bregman, no, we don't do deferrals. Well, then you know what? He's going to go win Player of the Week in Boston. That's what's going to happen. Your contract was never serious.
How about this guy? This guy, we talked about this before we started taping. There's 2 teams in the National League Central that should have been in hard on Bregman as soon as he became a 1-year proposition.
Yep.
Okay, you want to call it 3? He's got opt-outs after each year on this 3-year, $120 deal. And one of them's the Cubs because he would have fit right. You're winning. You're trying to win now.
Yep.
And if this guy helps you win now, you get to the postseason, he gets his showcase. He gets his showcase in Chicago. He'll make bank. He'll opt out and make bank. And maybe you want to keep him. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. The other team is the Reds. The Reds can't score to save their friggin' lives. And it's not because they got guys on the IL. They were a below average offensive team last year, and all they did was add around the margins. They're sitting at 110, 115 in payroll.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They should have been in there for $50 million on him in guaranteed upfront money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they could do it. They could do it if they wanted to. And how would that have reshaped that? And you could have sold Wrigley. You could have sold Chicago, big market, big stage, the whole thing here, and the aura, if you want to go there. The Reds could have sold. We got the greatest hitters ballpark in the game.
Yeah.
You're going to put up monster friggin' numbers, even more than Boston, where you're really comfortable. And then you're going to help us get to the playoffs, and everybody's going to see you on that stage too.
By the way, Reds at the Giants as we're taping this early in the week. That series will be interesting. Green against Webb.
Yes.
Pitching matchup. Yeah, it should be.
I already saw the first version of that in the opener. Yeah.
So, all right. So that's where Kyle Tucker sits.
Real quick, a futures play that intrigues me: 11-1 Tucker to win NL MVP as we tape this. I know Ohtani and Soto are going to get the play, so that's the gravitational magnetic force that's pulling all the money in. But if the Cubs win 93 games and Kyle Tucker is doing what he's doing.
Yeah, but if Shohei comes back and pitches,
that's true.
No chance.
But he's not throwing.
I'm talking about a value play.
It's end of the year.
I'm talking about a value play here. 11-1 versus even money.
I mean, it's almost going to require an injury.
I'm absolutely going to play that. Absolutely.
Well, of course you are.
Here for you.
Going to play that.
Here for you.
Love that.
So how much? So what would if no? I'm not. I'm going to go back to Kyle Tucker. If Kyle Tucker's a 10-year contract, what's the fair number? What's the
400? It has to start with.
Well,
it has to start with a 4, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Now you have 35 point. What did I say? 35.7.
Yeah,
is what Vladdy got over 14 years. Tucker's going to get less years.
But by him getting the years, like it's going to drop the AAV. And I mean, it's kind of like the Bryce Harper.
So if they said to him, 10 years, no opt-outs, no deferrals, we'll pay you all the money, and guess what? We'll give you 10 years, $380. What does he say?
He says no.
$38 million a year.
I mean, because he's going to get something that starts with a 4 on the free agent market.
If you would have done that in spring training prior to Vladimir Guerrero, I think that you might, at least it's a starter.
Yeah.
I think that with every time there's something like this that happens, it just keeps moving the chains for Kyle Tucker.
The other thing is, so he just turned 28. Give him 12 to bring the AAV down. If you want to start it with a 4 and you don't want to give him,
but if years bother you more than money, go 10. Then I mean, I'm just quoting. If years bother you more than money,
I think money bothers him.
I do. I think both bother you.
I think money bothers him. The only reason he says years is because it's money for more years.
Yeah.
But I think the money bothers him.
Okay, here are the salary rankings by player. Number 1, 61.875 is Soto. Zach Wheeler is $42 million. That one blows me away. Aaron Judge is.
But that's
$40
backloaded, right? That's because Zach Wheeler's contract. Go ahead, keep going.
Aaron Judge, I told you, $40 million. Jacob deGrom, $40 million. Anthony Rendon, 38.5.
Well, hold on. What'd you say on Soto? Is this average?
His average
is 51.
61.875.
He's 765 for 15, right?
Yeah.
That's 51.
The way it's structured, I'm just reading it off the Spot Track. For luxury tax purposes, we can go with those. $51 million. Shohei Ohtani, 46.081. Zach Wheeler, 42. Aaron Judge, 40. Jacob deGrom, 30. Jacob deGrom, 40 as well. And
Scherzer was 40.
So if I told you you're going to give Kyle Tucker $38 million a year, he says no.
I think he's. Yeah.
I think you could start the conversation there, but if I'm the agent, I'm just probably getting to $400 million.
Yeah.
I mean, Wheeler, the reason Wheeler's is so much is because he signed an extension on top.
Now, maybe
he's a 3 for 126 extension.
And again, maybe you add a year or two to get the
Shohei is $70 million a year,
right?
But a ton of
like $2 million a year,
right.
really. Yeah.
So
it's with the number,
right? But I think it's. Look, when you get to the numbers that are this big, a lot of it's symbolic, right? A lot of it is, and these guys are told this by the agents and by the union along the way. You know, your contract's also about the guy coming next.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's got to start with a 4. And if that means you got to add some years to it, you can probably manipulate it a little bit to make him happy with what the number looks like and symbolizes. And, you know, still wind up paying him that amount. And you know, by the time you get to the end of that deal, you know, the economics of the game are changing anyway.
Right.
You know, in theory, you're making more money, and you know, it's the value on that deal at the end isn't going to be as high.
I talked to a friend of Corbin Burns, and I said, "That's the guy when you didn't get Bregman, the money." Now I know he was already signed. But the money that they allotted toward Bregman, I would have rather gone and got a top of the rotation starting pitcher. And he said it didn't matter. He wanted to be in Arizona, family and the whole deal. He was going there and he took less money to go there. He was never signing anywhere other than the Dodgers.
You could have still spent more money on pitching than you did.
No question.
And right now, if you're looking at this first place team as we open the week, with a lot of good signs, there's also some red flags, and they're all on the pitching staff.
Well, certainly in the bullpen there is.
In the bullpen and the depth of your rotation as well. And so
you're talking about the back end?
I'm talking about the back end,
yeah.
and I'm talking about guys toward the end of their contracts too. Yep. And I don't worry about Justin Steele so long as he's healthy. But see that I don't worry about him.
Amazing.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, Ben Brown is your last guy. I mean, he's probably a better bullpen guy. And so if this is where you're at, then you probably didn't do enough to add to your pitching staff. And now your margins are real thin. You know, we talk a lot about all the Reds games I see and how much I'm around that team now. They've got the deepest pitching staff in the division easy. They go 8-9 deep in guys that can win major league games and have done it. And so, I mean, Rhett Lauder is a guy that they slow played during spring training. He's technically on the IL, but he's not hurt. He made 6 starts last year. He was a number 7 overall pick.
Who are the top 3?
The top 3 are Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. You got Brady Singer, who's 2-0 and had a terrific first start. You got Nick Martinez in there. You got Andrew Abbott, who's going to make his season debut. He's got a 3-something career ERA in 2 years.
Do they have anybody as good as Imanaga?
Hunter Green's as good as anybody on the Cubs staff, and Lodolo has better stuff than anybody on the Cubs staff.
I don't care about stuff. I care about results.
Yeah, well, he's healthy and getting some results now too. So you've got that. You've got part of your depth that, like, nobody's even thinking about it, but he's been a contributor every time he's healthy, and you won't need any more than 20 starts out of him. Is Wade Miley, who's coming back in May. You got. And again, Rhett Lauder, who's a guy on the rise, 1.17 ERA in his 6 starts last year in his big league debut. you got Carson Spires, who just filled in a couple of starts. One of them a really nice start.
But I would put the Cubs top 2 against anybody in the division.
Yeah, but the top 2 is not going to. That can carry you in a series.
That's great. That's great when you get to the division series.
Right.
It's not when you've got 152 games left.
That's why I told you guys when we were talking in the preview before we started yelling at each other that the most important guy in that staff is Jameson Taillon, because I think I know what I'm getting out of Imanaga, give or take a little bit. Same with Steele if they stay healthy. Taillon cannot be bad. He has. You
got to have 7 or 8 guys though.
But they have. I'm looking at AAA right now. You got Jordan Wicks down there. You got Chris Flexen down there. You got Javier Assad down there.
Assad is
already throwing.
Assad, I feel more confident in.
I'm saying, like, the point is, you have major league arms,
and their number 1 prospect,
Cade Horton,
made his debut last week and threw great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about going 7, 8 deep with guys who have won in the big leagues.
Javier Assad's won in the big leagues.
I already told you. I got confidence in him. I'll give you him.
How about this Connor Nolan through 2 starts too? Never met him, as Hawk would say, but 2-0 with a 1.8. 1-0 with a 1.80.
Still at cease. I got Connor Nolan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go to the off season if you're the Cubs. You have to add a number 1 starter, in my opinion.
Yep.
And that has to come after you get Kyle Tucker signed.
So I
agree.
Cease, Gallen, Framber, Valdez, all free agents.
Cease is going to get well north of $200 million.
Probably.
He will. He'll get $200 million.
But if you don't get the job done this year, all bets are off for whatever happens next offseason.
Agreed.
Because you're going to be dealing with
let's assume that they sign Kyle Tucker by the All-Star break. Okay? Let's say they announce 10 years, $425 million.
Everyone's like,
at that point,
Cubs!
Aren't you already on tilt of leaning all in? Because
I would think so. But the other thing is, we talk about the labor stuff coming up,
right?
And this is more of a sort of an ownership position when it comes to what you're going to do in the offseason. But the CBA's up at the end of 26, and people talk about a shutdown that might wipe out all of 27. No, if a shutdown comes, it's coming in 26. It might even come ahead of 26, depending on what the talks look like when they start up.
Before the season ends?
I saw somebody suggest that just recently.
I don't believe it.
That it could happen in 26.
I don't believe it.
But one thing, 94, 81, they were in-season shutdowns ahead of the expiration of the CBA.
Those are strikes.
Right. And they were over the same issue. You push these guys to the wall on their deadlines, and then they work with you, and then they extend. And then if you don't give, they walk. But that's not on them because you had your chance. So what I'm saying is that either way, whatever you want to call it, a lockout, and some people think it might be a lockout even before that. But if you push a strike deadline and you push a second strike deadline and they strike, that's on both sides. That's not you can't blame the players for that.
Salary cap?
No,
you do not.
No, I don't.
No chance.
And I think if there's a lockout, and you're talking about where owners are putting their foot down and saying there is a salary cap, and the union's going to hell with that, we're not doing that. You are looking at a full season lost, and I think the game is catastrophically lost.
Catastrophically,
like you will lose these jerseys right here. Are for not necessarily for our age generation and moving up. These are for the reason they keep doing these every 3 years is to keep pulling 14-year-old kids back into the game. And if you lock everybody out, if you lock the players out and you turn them off their TVs, because they're already off of a lot of TVs. We know that here in Chicago. People are struggling to watch the game they want to watch. If you actually do that for them and turn the power off, good luck ever getting a kid 18 or under ever to care about that sport again. Good luck.
Yeah, they already have a hard enough time.
They have a hard enough time. They're trying, but you do that. You think they'll ever mention when kids are talking about top 5 athletes, period, They won't mention Shohei Ohtani, even though they should.
I talked to a high-ranking executive for another team outside the Reds and Cubs markets who said a shutdown of any significant length of time would be a total disaster. I believe that's a direct quote, a total disaster for the
It'll be 94
right.
times 2 to me.
Let's
at least.
Yeah.
At least, because the climate we're in right now on a number of fronts, economically and in sports, is completely different.
That's a great point.
All right, let's move on. Cubs sit at the top of the division. They took 2 of 4 in Arizona. Should have taken 3 of 4. They took all 3 in Sacramento. They took 2 of 3 from the San Diego Padres. So, your guys' thoughts on what the Cubs look like here through the first 12 games, 7-5 in first?
I think, we talked about Bregman, but you're fine with the lineup. The lineup's fine. And they catch the ball. I really like the PCA coming along. And so I don't have any problem with that. But, man, your boy Counsell, after that Sunday game, I believe it was after that Sunday game, talked kind of in general about where they were.
One in Arizona.
The Padres game. Okay. He talked about the pitching. Mm-hmm. He's happy with what they've gotten so far for the most part. A foundation. I think he called it a foundation, and he talked about the health, and that's the biggest key, because what if we've seen anything so far, it's that there might not be the depth there, and there's some cracks in that pitching staff early on. The bullpen again, for God's sake, I was looking at this. The bullpen is 25th, according to Fangraphs, and this is what are we, 12 games in? It's nearly 10% of the season, right? Negative 0.1 WAR, Fangraphs WAR. They're the White Sox bullpen because they both are 0.1 negative. That's 25th in the game in the bullpen. They got the 23rd ranked ERA at 5.18. Yep. And the biggest red flag is they've got the second highest walks per 9 innings. That's the one that bothers me. It's 5.83 walks per 9 out of that bullpen. You can't win with that.
You cannot win with all the walks.
No, I will say this. I mean, back to the offense. I want to hit the bullpen. I mean, I'll add to the bullpen first, since that's.
By the way, I think Ben Brown ends up in that bullpen when Assad's ready to start,
and maybe that helps. And
maybe that does help. But you have Ryan Presley right now, and I'm not ready to throw the stakes at him yet. I'm not.
However,
it's a veteran. However, in 6 innings, he has 6 walks. He's allowed 9 hits.
How many strikeouts?
It's 2. Yeah. There is traffic every time the guy runs in from the bullpen, and it's self-inflicted, and that concerns me. It's one thing if he's getting hit hard a little bit, or he's getting, buzzard's luck, as LaRussa used to say, when a guy would hit a ground ball that would find nothing. He's not. He's getting hit hard. He's allowing free passes. He's throwing a lot of pitches, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is or what the weather is. But I'll go back to the offense. The Cubs rank first in the National League in hits. They rank first in the National League in runs. Those are huge.
They are first in all of baseball.
They're first in RBI.
And they opened the season against the Dodgers and lost.
They're first in RBI. They're second in home runs, only to the Dodgers. They're 5th in average. If I'm a Cubs fan, I'm doing backflips on those numbers alone. You can the bullpen. Let's talk in a month. Okay. Let's talk at the end of April, at least, and see where the bullpen is. If they're still doing this type of stuff, giving away games like they did, you're already talking about 2 games they gave away.
They should be 9-3.
You're already talking about 2 games they gave away. That can't continue. You can't get to the end of April and talk about 5 games they gave away. Because if they have and you haven't done anything about it yet, then that to me means everyone's sitting on their hands when you should be worried about the positioning right now. Don't tell me about what the rest of the National League Central did or didn't do in the offseason. Worry about the things you can control. And right now, your bullpen
9-3 is what they should be.
I will say this too, in defense of where the Cubs sit right now. They face the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks are one of the best hitting teams in the game.
100%.
And the fact that they've survived that and they've gotten to this point and they're in the teeth of their schedule through the end, pretty much the end of April, into May, actually. And their pitching staff has held up enough that they've got a winning record right now. That's not nothing. And to your point, Guff, we get through this stretch, we'll know a lot about this team.
A ton.
And if they're still healthy at the end of this stretch, no matter what the numbers say, they should be in really good position to make a run.
And this is where, like, the offense, I kept talking about, like, on the shows we've done here, on the show I do at lunch, I was concerned going in. You're asking for Amaya to take a step. You're asking for Bush to take a step. You're asking for PCA to take a step. And you're asking for Matt Shaw to come in as a rookie. Not a lot of Matt Shaw talk right now. He's not performing. He's hitting 190 as we tape this. But when you're first in runs and hits and homers and RBI, you can allow Matt Shaw to grow on the job. That's the ideal situation you want to be in.
This is what happens when you have guys like Kyle. Go look at what the Astros did when Altuve, Tucker,
and who has
Alvarez.
benefited? And why is Seiya Suzuki all of a sudden look like the guy you wanted? Because Kyle Tucker, teams are flat out afraid to pitch to him. And so the guy behind him is Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah.
Who's getting better pitches
Who's
to
getting
hit.
better pitches to hit, because when we saw it in Sacramento, Kyle Tucker, there wasn't a pitch he didn't like. And then you get to the finale of that series, they tried hard every at bat to pitch around Kyle Tucker. They tried hard. He was in a 3-0 counts. He walked a couple of times. Seiya, home run.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens when
That's what happens.
Cody Bellinger was a good player, and I still think I'd be frustrated, and I'm frustrated that they moved him and didn't spend the money, et cetera, like everyone else is. But this is the difference between superstar and Cody Bellinger.
No doubt.
This is the difference right now.
What they do when they're at the plate and what they do for the guys around them in the lineup. That's how baseball lineups have worked for 100 and something years. So
you don't need analytics to tell me.
Tucker, as I said, named with a 1461 OPS, named NL Player of the Week. So they get 3 with the Texas Ranger, who come rolling in here. And then let's see where the Chicago Cubs headed. I think they go to LA for the Dodgers.
Yeah, they got a tough trip.
And then San Diego again.
Yeah. They get Thursday off. They go to the Dodgers for 3, San Diego for 3, another day off, come home, get Arizona for 3, Dodgers for 2 more here, and Philly for 3.
That's fine. That's right. All the people who are complaining about
all
the
of
schedule.
a sudden, you get all that in the rearview mirror.
The Dodgers are done.
Heads above water. You're like, we're good.
I mean, that's the other thing that Council was saying. Everybody plays the same schedule at some point.
Everybody plays everybody.
Right now, you got it all up front. And so, again, you just need to play as well as you can. I mean, even if it winds up not being a winning record in that stretch, if you come out of it healthy, if you come out of it playing good baseball, you're in good position.
All the people who are complaining about the April schedule for the Cubs, I want you to go ahead and circle May 12th through flat out. Let's just go all the way through the end of May. And this is with all due respect to the Reds, but right now they're not performing. May 12th through the end of May. 3 against the Marlins.
Here.
3 against the White Sox.
Here.
At the Marlins.
Yeah.
At the Reds. Home against the Rockies. Home against the Reds. Don't tell me.
And then you go to Washington, Detroit.
Well,
Washington's not bad.
Detroit's good. Detroit's good. But my point is, you can get fat pretty quick when you're playing the Marlins and the White Sox, who will combine lose 215 games.
To stay alive.
And the Rockies.
Yeah, you're getting, 12 of 15 games, 12 of 15 stretch where you're getting the Marlins, the White Sox.
Those might literally be the 3 worst teams in the game.
Just stay healthy.
Oh, they are the 3 worst teams. They don't even have to be might. They are the 3 worst teams.
And I'm not talking about win-loss record. I'm talking about just chances to beat them.
They might go down as the most combined losses in the history of games for 3
teams.
teams.
You just come out of April
500.
with your head above the
500.
water, 500 and healthy. You got to be healthy.
Well, health is always.
I agree with that, and that's keep your eye on those pitchers because you got no margin there.
Martin Perez looking all right for a trade deadline candidate. I'm already going to throw that one out there.
That'll
soft tossing lefty. Didn't even hit 90 in his opener.
And that'll be when he starts getting crushed as soon as he goes to the north side.
All right, Guff, thanks for joining us on the pod.
All right,
Gordon, we didn't even
I'm just
scream
glad-
at each other.
I know.
Except you have horrible taste in jerseys.
Well,
I'm not the one wearing that piece of crap.
This thing is awesome. You go get your sleeveless Reds shirt.
Yeah, I'll go
these
do that.
peel and stick or what are they?
No. It is all tackle twill, baby. Sewed on. All right, for Guff, for Gordon, I'm Cap. That is another edition, a wrap on a Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel, and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Fly that freaking W. Take that.